Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Sai. This is Yehuda Levin. Chag Sameach. We're in the middle of Chalamoid SUCCOS, 5,779. You know how you can tell if you're into the Yontif? As I've said before, if Hashem grants you Chedushay Torah, having to do with the Yontif, that I think substantiates that you're into the Yontif. And therefore, the first part of my program, as I did last week, preceding SUCCOS, I want to continue and share with you some of the Divrei Torah that I was zoicha to say this SUCCOS. But first, let me urge you again to become a partner in the holy work of this program, Levin at 11, heard each and every Thursday evening, Leil Shishi at 6:20 a.m. WSNR radio at 11 p.m. from 11 to midnight. You can also see the video of the program. They're archived on Levin 11, Levin, 11, the numeral, the number 11 on YouTube. It is often carried by Hefkervelt blog. And please take down this hotline number and spread the word. This is how you become a partner in the holy avoda that we're doing. The hotline number is 641-715-3900. 641-715-3900, extension 247656. Extension 247656. Unless I forget, let me say from the outset that for the Levin Mishpacha, Zaman Simcha Seinu doesn't end with SUCCOS, it just begins, because 2 days after SUCCOS, a day after Isru Chag, Yirtzeh Hashem, on Thursday evening, Parshas Bereshis, my son Simcha Zisa Levin will be getting married to Malka Erlinger, and the chasuna will take place in the old yeshiva of Spring Valley, which is called the Vilchava Hall. I think it's the corner of Maple Avenue and Route 306 in the old yeshiva of Spring Valley. And I can't invite people for meals, but the Simchas Chosim V'Kala is at 10 o'clock. And whoever would like to participate in our Simcha is welcome to come for the Simchas Chosim V'Kala. And I'll be speaking some Divrei Torah of the upcoming Simcha Ma'ashav L'Hashem Kol Tag Maloi Alai. We're all looking forward. It's a gewaldige Chosheva, beautiful Zivug, Chosheva Erlinger family. Father is a Rebbe in Toronto, Cheder. And of course, the Erlinger family has Doiris of Chosheva Yidden. They come from Switzerland. Of course, the cousin is the Mashgiach of the Mir, the Chasna de Bei Nisia, Rav Israel Erlinger, Chasna de Bei Nisia of Rav Shlomo Wolbers, Tzadik Leveracha, the great Mashgiach from Eretz Yisrael. There's Rav Avram Erlinger, the Makubal, the Mashpia. There's an Erlinger, Rav Erlinger, who is a Rosh Yeshiva in Kol Torah, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's Yeshiva. And I publicly, we say Hallel every day on SUCCOS. I have to say an extra Hallel for such a wonderful shidduch and Yehi Raiva, that the Zivik should be Yafa, and that the Erlinger family and the Levin family, we should both have much nachas, and we're looking forward. In Yirtzeh Hashem, Motzei Shabbos, the coming week, Motzei Shabbos of Parshas Noach, after Shabbos of Sheva Brachos that will be held in Lakewood, I hope to announce on next week's program, there will be a Kumsitz Sheva Brachos, Motzei Shabbos in Lakewood. And once again, it's not going to be a big sit-down meal. We'll have a little Malka and a Kumsitz, the Sheva Brachos, which I'll be sponsoring in Lakewood. And I don't know the exact location yet, but if you tune in for next week's program, I'll try to be mefarsim it, and we'll try to make sure that they announce it at the Berdichev Shul this Shabbos of Parshas Noach, I hope that they will announce where the Sheva Brachos will be. Now, without further ado, I would like to share with you some of the Divrei Torah that I was zeicha to perceive and to share over this Yantiv. And I would just also want to give a tremendous shout out in Yeshakayach. You know, if you want to see a very special Simchas Beis HaShoeva, the Simchas Beis HaShoeva that's held each and every evening in Chol Hamoed in Stolin is very, very unique. The type of music that the keyboard player plays, nothing wild, nothing crazy. It's all timeless nigunim, dveikistik nigunim, and the whole edelkeit of the way people dance. There's an edelkeit to it, and I'm telling you, you could gain in Yir Shemayim and in Havas Yisrael, just like I do, sitting on the side and watching the faces of Zekenim and the Orim, of the people of all ages who dance. The Ehrlichkeit, the Dveikis, it's something very, very, very special. And it's very conducive if you're sitting there to think in Torah, to think ruchnistic thoughts. So one of the things I'd like to share with you is as follows. You know that Me'ikar Adin, I think it's a Gemara, it might be in Sukkah Mem Vav. The Gemara discusses, I think, the possibility of making a bracha, the bracha Shechianu, when you're making the sukkah. When you're making the sukkah. So it seems that making the sukkah, according to this view, is part of the mitzvah, and it leads to simcha, and the simcha starts when you're making the sukkah. So therefore, halachically, technically speaking, you can make a shechianu there, but what we do is we make the shechianu at Kiddush in the sukkah, and you have in mind not only for the holiday of SUCCOS, and not only for the yeshiva in the sukkah, but for the asiyah of the sukkah as well. I think this might be brought down by the Mishnah Berurah. I haven't seen it inside, but I think I saw it quoted. So this led me to a shtickl chiddush. It comes out that the simcha of Zman Simchaseinu starts when you're building the sukkah. This might give a new insight into the famous Gemara that says, "V'lakachtem lechem b'yom harishon." The Gemara is it's the 15th day of Tishrei. When to introduce the parsha of the Daled Minim is introduced in the Torah with the words "V'lakachtem lechem b'yom harishon." So the Gemara is it's not Yom Harishon, it's Tesvav, it's the 15th day of Tishrei. So the Gemara says Rishon lecheshbon avonos. Why? Because from Yom Kippur, when we achieve penance, we receive a new start. Until Sukkah, zeh oisik b'sukkosei v'zeh oisik b'lulavei. This one is busy engaged in his Sukkah, and this one is engaged in lulav. But the question is obvious. You're not engaged in that process 24/7 or 24/4 for 24 hours straight. Most people go to work. Most people put in a few hours for the sukkah, a few hours for lulav and esrog. So what does it mean? Furthermore, there's a halacha. You should come from one mitzvah to the next, and it's brought down even halacha that it's advisable to try to do something, if not the whole thing, right after Yom Kippur, right after you fast, after you finish fasting, you break your fast, to go and to start doing something. And some people say if it's possible even to complete the whole sukkah. And if you can't complete it, this is what I'm saying, you should try to do it the next morning, complete it the next morning after davening. So what's the very big rush? Okay, there's an inyan to connect one mitzvah to the other, etc., but what's the big rush? So I would like to suggest as follows. First of all, I'm sure that I'm not being machadish this aspect, but we make a bracha in the morning Birchas Torah lasik, to be engaged in divrei Torah, asik of Torah. The question is, 90% of people who make this bracha, after Shachris, they go to work. And they could be working for 6, 7, 8, 10 hours until they open up in the Gemara again. So why don't they have to make another Birchas Torah? And the answer that's given is, it's considered that their focus, their direction, their kivun is learning Torah. And therefore, on a certain subconscious level, maybe, they're still focused from the morning when they made the Birchas Torah and they recited some psukim and the mission of Elu Dvarim, that they're still oisik in Torah. And therefore, I would assume that Zeh oisik b'sukkos v'zeh oisik b'lulava is a frame of mind. It doesn't mean that each and every minute and each and every hour in between Yom Kippur and SUCCOS, we're constantly engaged in doing things, activities that directly relate to the Sukkah and to the Daled Minim. But it means that that is our intention. We're going north. We're heading towards that. We're anticipating that. Our thoughts, our preparation, our hachana for the mitzvah, etc. And I'm buttressing this by the fact that you see that you can make a shechiyanu when you start to build it. And before Hashem say, because there's in a dimension of simcha already, so it comes out that to a certain extent, lemefzel shishuvi, it could be that Zman Simcha Seinu technically starts with the building of the sukkah. And therefore, it could be that in addition to going from mitzvah to mitzvah after Yom Kippur, there's an additional reason why the poskim say you should start building the sukkah, do some effort towards the sukkah right after Yom Kippur ends. Svarim say that the Elah is called Ne'ilah, is comprised of two words, Na'el Ka, that the tzaddikim lock themselves up, so to speak, in seclusion with Kavyochel, so the Makatragim, the heavenly prosecutors, cannot get in. And that's how they assure that Klal Yisrael should have a positive, affirmative adjudication. So I would like to suggest that from the time of Ne'ilah, and then we finish davening, we daven Ma'ariv, we go home, we break our fast, and immediately we start with the sukkah. So we go from that exalted madrega of Ne'ilah, where the Makata couldn't get access, and then we blow the shofar, which if I haven't mentioned it in previous programs, that shofar shakes up the Satan a lot, because the Satan he was already shook up when there were extra shofar blasts, the Yushav and the Mu'umid on Rosh Hashanah. And the Satan in the back of her mind knows, he's familiar with the liturgy of Chad Gadya V'asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'shach L'malach HaMaves. And he knows the Chazal, either B'nisn Asidin L'Higoel or B'Tishrei Asidin L'Higoel. So he's nervous. And we had this whole Torah a few weeks ago about the Sol Azazel. So he's already ganz nervous and ganz shook up, ganz baholodik on Yom Kippur. And then the Elah, he's locked out totally. So therefore, if we go afterwards and we build the sukkah, or we start to build the sukkah, we finish it the next day or whatever, but it kicks in this concept of Zeh oisik b'sukkosei v'zeh oisik b'lulavai. And there's already a concept of Zman Simcha Seinu. It's already the general, the mechzel, shishravi, fractionally, already the simcha of sukkah starts. Because the simcha is tied in with a relationship with Hashem, a renewed relationship with Hashem, and mechilas havaynos. So it starts. It comes to fruition when we actually physically sit in the sukkah. But it starts already in the hachana for the mitzvah, which might be part of the mitzvah itself to build the sukkah. There's the inyan of asiyah. That asiyah has to do with the sukkah, building of the sukkah. Now, until now, if somebody would ask you, what is the Zman Simcha Seinu of SUCCOS? So the Svarim say that since it's the harvest time, and people, the farmers, and agrarian society like Eretz Yisrael, Many thousands of farm families brought in their produce. So they had a good crop. They're very happy. They're besimcha. They did their job, and now they're sitting back and they're relaxing over Yontif. That itself lends itself to a tremendous simcha when you bring in the whole crop, the harvest. So that's one reason given. Bigger reason is, like it says in the end of the Gemara, Masechta Tainus, Yom Tov Yisrael Ketuba Avi Yom Kippurim, Bishlam Yom Kippurim, Mechilas Havainas. Mechilas Havainas is Yom Tov, it's a simcha, it's a tremendous simcha when you get Mechilas Havainas. So those are the two reasons for Zman Simchasenu. I would like to suggest to you respectfully, I was Zoicha, to suggest a third reason. Tu B'Av is the equivalent of the posting of the banns. In ancient Britain and maybe in ancient societies, when some couple was about to get engaged, they would put up sign of banns about the fact that so-and-so is being betrothed to so-and-so. Engagement. So the posting of the banns takes place on Tu B'Av, because we've spoken about the name of the B'nai Yissaschar and other commentaries. Our born young Kadmul Yitzias Avalad, 40 days before the creation of a child, the Baskol comes out and it says so-and-so will marry the daughter of so-and-so. So here's 40 days before the Yitzias Avalad of the Olam was created on Chav Hei Elul. 6 days later was Yom Aleph of Tishrei, the creation of man, which was the leitmotif, the purpose, the raison d'etre of the whole creation. So 40 days before Chav Hei Elul is Tu B'Av. Tu B'Av is already an announcement of Zivukim, but in particular the ultimate civic, which is the purpose of the creation of the world, which is the civic between Kodesh Baruch and Klal Yisrael. Now in Gan Eden, Adam Harishon married Chava. Who was the attendants? Who brought Chava to Adam? Who braided her hair? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Malachim. This is called Sheshvinen. The entourage, the people who are involved in facilitating the simcha of the chasuna kala are called Sheshvinen. So who is the Sheshvinen in the original zivig of Adam and Chava? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there was a premise there was really a stipulation that Adam and Chava would have progeny, and from that progeny would come out Avraham, Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and that would be the beginning of the Jewish people. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have a relationship, like Shir Shirim explains at length, of chasuna kala. Yosis alayich elikayach kimseis chasuna kala. So the posting of the banns of the engagement of when did the chasna happen? It happened on Har Sinai, Matan Torah. Yom chasuna also, Yom Sisakliba, Yom chasuna also is Har Sinai. But the kala misbehaved itself, so the chasna sent up packing. But it would seem to be that the marriage was never consummated, because we say in one of the Pizmoinim on Motzi Shabbos, Behera, and in the near future, the kala should become a ba'ula. It should be consummated. So he sent her away, and the marriage is not yet consummated. Now what happens? There's a rapprochement. They get back together again. Tu B'Av, they announce the posting of the ban, the engagement period. Elul is Mazel Basula. What is a Basula? A Basula is a young maiden who's pure, who's innocent, who's untainted, who hasn't sinned. So we're chayzer to the Basula. Klal Yisrael is again like a Basula, because they were never a Ba'ul yet. They're Basula. The Mazel of Elul is a Basula, and the Kala is building up a credit with her chasna again. After he threw her out, he's taking her back. Yom Kippur, Mikveh Yisrael Hashem. Yom Kippur, the Kala goes to the mikveh, the last preparation before the marriage. And then there's that 4-day period of time in preparation. And then is not only referring to the cheshbon avaynos of the individual person who received an atonement from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it also lends itself to the fact that we know that a chasna and kala get mechilas avaynos. We learn that from Beferish Pasuk at the end of Parshas Toldos. Esav went to take a wife, Machlas, Vas Yishmael Achois Nevoyes. He went to his uncle and took his cousin, Mochlas. In fact, the Gemara of Ahaloi Bosmas, her real name was Bosmas. There's no such thing as a Mochlas. So the Gemara answers, Mikan, we learn that a chazan who gets engaged and married to a kala, moichlin lo'kol havaynosa. And the Berditchever says, Reb Levi Yitzchak and others, it's obvious that the mechil is not only for the chazan, but the mechil is for the kala as well. So therefore, Yom HaRishon, it's not called HaRishon only because it's Rishon lecheshbon havaynos, but it's a double, a triple entendre. Rishon reminds us of Rishon of Adam HaRishon. It reminds us of the first zivug. And now there's the fruition of the purpose that Adam and Chava should eventually produce in Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Klal Yisrael, which would be, so to speak, the bride of Kavyachal, so to speak. So when does this remarriage take place? It takes place in the Sheva Brachas, for SUCCOS. The first day is the marriage, and they're secluded in the Gan Eden Atachton in the Sukkah. It's been named the Sukkah. And everything starts from the beginning all over again. So not only do we have Mechilas Avaynis from Yom Kippur, but we have even another Mechilas Avaynis. A Mechilas Avaynis that comes about through our marriage, so to speak, to Kavyachal, our remarriage to Kavyachal, taking back. And that's another inyan of Mechila, aside from the Mechila of Yom Kippur. In the case of my son, Simcha Zisel, the very day after Isu Chag Ba'avoisim, at Kansham Zech Isu Chag can still have within it, if you prav in Isu Chag, you can have with it all of the accomplishments, the spiritual illuminations and accomplishments of the Tes Yantiv. So that Mechila, we could say, it still can apply, the Chasna has Mechilas Avaynis with the Kala all the 7 days of the Sheva Brachas. And that's why anybody who participates in a wedding of a chasna and kala, according to the Chasidisha, they have a bezer ampin and minister, they have mechilas avaynis. And I would say that applies to the Sheva Brachas as well. Because if the chasna and kala are still being imbued with mechilas avaynis, new start, so the trickle-down effect that happens by the chasna also to the entourage, to the people who are there, to the people who are Mesamech to Chazon Kala, so it would apply also to Sheva Brachas. So it comes out, the Sheva Brachas ends Wednesday, the end of Wednesday and Thursday, and that's the same day. In other words, SUCCOS, I'm saying, ends at Isu Chag. Isu Chag ends Wednesday night. And Wednesday night is the beginning of Thursday. And Thursday he has a Mechilas Avaynis because it's the Yom HaChuppah. And then there's the whole Sheva Brachas afterwards. So there's an additional dimension for Simcha Zisel, Halevi Levin, and for his entourage, there's an additional level of Mechila and Slicha, which is very, very edifying and very exciting. This is Yehuda Levin, and I want to ask you again to become a partner with me in this program by spreading the hotline number. Please take down the hotline number. All the programs are archived. 641-715-3900. 641-715-3900. The extension is 247656. 247656. The YouTube channel where the programs are videoed and archived is Levin, Levin, and the numeral 11. You should be able to find it on YouTube. Now, let's see. I would like to say also that there's a machlokes if SUCCOS is Anani HaKavod or SUCCOS Mamish, famous machlokes in the Mishnah and Sukkah. And all the Svarim say, many Svarim say, it's Elu Elu Divelikim Chayim. It's a combination of both. And I want to say, and I'm sure I'm not being machadish this, I'm sure it says it on the Svarim, that we call it Chag HaSukkos. Because we're acknowledging that it's two aspects. The physical SUCCOS Mamish that we celebrate is that Hashem takes care of us physically. And the Anani HaKavod that we celebrate is because Hashem provides us with a six-sided, four-directional, up and down, below, a six-sided embrace, the ultimate embrace, the chibuk, the hugging, and so to speak, the kissing. That Hashem embraces us, as verily He did Adam Rishon with the Adonai covenant, and then He did it to Klal Yisrael when they went out of Mitzrayim, and now He does it to each and every one of us again throughout SUCCOS. Could you imagine? You're mamish in the embrace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not kedai to sit in the sukkah, to lay in the sukkah, to sleep in the sukkah, to dream in the sukkah, to read in the sukkah, to learn in the sukkah, to sing in the sukkah. It's not kedai. Every minute you're embraced by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anani covered redux. It's a remake. When you think about these kinds of things, then it's possible to do tshuva me'ahava. When you think about how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves you, He looks for every excuse. He gives you Yom Kippur, Yitzum Sheyom is Machapa. He allows Himself to be locked up with tzaddik by Dila. He wants to give you so much that you're Zedainos, what you did with Nezit should now turn into Zechuyas through tshuva me'ahava. He makes it so easy. He's giving it to us on silver platter with a little bit of contemplation. And He makes it a man of simcha, that you're supposed to have rikudim and mechalos, circles and dancing and music. And if you do all those things like by the Simcha Space Shoeva in Yerushalayim, this was all conducive for a person to feeling a largesse, to feel expansiveness. Hamachaya, it's great to be a Yid. Ashreinu matol chelkeinu manon gerleinu, like they played in Stalin. Ashreinu matol chelkeinu manoim gerleinu. Think. And think all the things that we should be happy about. Health, family, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, parnasa, food, comfort, the ability to use a bathroom facility, the ability to have clothing, to have a car, to have insurance, to have school limits for the kids, and on and on and on and on. Tshuva me'ahava. Says, let's see what Rabbi said. Let's see if you can remind us of what else. Father, I want to mention something that a lot of people are not aware of. A lot of people don't realize, because we're so politically correct. A lot of people don't realize how strongly forbidden it is to take a Gentile into the sukkah. If you have no choice, or it's going to lead to ava, it's going to lead to hate, resentment, anti-Semitism. Undoubtedly, there's probably a term. But I want you to know that the Zohar says that the Shechina becomes outraged and leaves the sukkah when you bring in a non-Jew. And therefore, the others get up and they also march out, the Shivas HaRoyim, the Shpizim. So a person shouldn't be so fast to take a Gentile into the sukkah if you don't have to. That's the point. Why? Because Anani HaKavod kept out the negative forces, kept them out. It was a havdil, it was a mechitza. That's what Sukkah is all about. The Sukkah is like a miniature Beis HaMikdash. It's a Gan Eden HaTachton. In the Beis HaMikdash, there was a place that the Gentile was allowed to go until what's called the Srug. I think it was 10 hands breadths, 10 tvachim. The Yevanim ufartzu chaymis migdalai. They cut 13 rendings, 13 rips into the Srug. They wanted to push their way into the Beis HaMikdash. And we'll talk more about that as we approach Hanukkah. But we have to understand the holiday of Sukkot that we celebrate is a celebration of distinction between us and the Gentiles. That is a leitmotif, it's a central theme of the holiday, to stay away from the Gentile culture, the Gentile values. Now, the same concept, we're going to see a continuum. The same concept applies by Hanukkah. It's a separation from the Gentiles. It's a separation, a rejection of Chachma Chitzainis, of the Greek culture, of the Greek wisdom, etc. We have to bear that in mind. You know, there are two people, Dennis Prager, very bright person. He went to Yeshiva Flatbush. He's not a strict Shomer Torah mitzvahs. And although he's very bright, and he said a lot of right things, but 10 or 15% of the stuff that he says is apikoursis. And he wrote a book with Tolushkin years ago, with Joseph Tolushkin, another very bright fellow, who's Elter Zeder, who Zeder was mamish from the Gedolei America, one of the greatest Gedolim that came to America. They wrote a book, I think, with 8 reasons for anti-Semitism. And at least one of them is a takeoff on the Chazal. The Chazal say it's called Har Sinai because from that small mountain was Yored, came down a tremendous sinner. It's a play on words. Sinai is spelled with a samach. Sinner is spelled with a sin. Sin. Nevertheless, etymologically, it sounds similar. Sinai, Shemisham Yard Sin Eloilam, because when the Torah was given with the concept of monotheism and the concept of issuing, of throwing off, of rejecting immoral behavior, to have a moral code of conduct, that was something that the Goyim, the Gentiles of the world, were very, very resentful, and that caused them to hate us. Chazal tell us that the Jews only serve the Egel, they only serve the Avodah Zarah, lahata lehamarayos, licentiousness. Now, if you think that this only applies by non-Jews, that the non-Jews relate to the Jews with a hate, with a resentment, you should know that from time immemorial, any time a Jew stood up and he wanted to stand up for moral values, leading all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu himself, the Rabban shall call B'nai HaGoyla for all the years, Moshe Rabbeinu, the one who has the title of Moshe Rabbeinu, B'chol Beisi Neman. He's known by Hashem. He's the most trustworthy by Hashem throughout his entire universe, so to speak. Moshe Rabbeinu said, Oid ma'at v'yiskaluni, another little bit and they're going to stone me. Moshe was keenly aware of the tension that existed between Klal Yisrael and Moshe Rabbeinu, because Moshe Rabbeinu was always having to tell them the laws and what's right and what's wrong. And it was scrimping the style. It was narrowing the confines. It's not open, you can't do whatever you want. Then Pinchas came along. Pinchas went inside the tent, which Kozvi Vasur and the Nasi Libnei Shimon were involved in intimate misbehavior. So look, they wanted to kill Pinchas. It said there was a nest that they couldn't kill him. Re'eh ben Putizu, look at him, that his grandfather was over the Avodah and he's coming to lord over us. Pinchas was right. They resented. Recently, I had this article against Flatbush Mama, opposing Flatbush Mama, a very well-reasoned article about what Sneas is and what she's doing wrong. So, there's letters to the editor in 2 weeks of the Jewish Press, and I understand I haven't seen it yet, but it's some kind of an opinion piece. You get more with honey than with a sting, and Yehuda Levin lost all kinds of elections, so who is he to tell Flatbush Mama if she's allowed to run or not? These people don't see the trees for the forest. Number one, I am not trying to win a popularity contest. Oid ma'at v'yiskaluni. We follow Pinchas, we follow Nevi'im, we follow Gedolim of all many generations. There wasn't popularity contests saying that what the Torah standards are. By failing to do this thing, you're supposed to be non-judgmental, you're supposed to be nice, you're supposed to be sweet. No, when somebody's going around laughing about eating cheeseburgers or prancing around with a transgender, it's like unbelievable. After I said all these things in the article, they're still writing letters to the editor, chutzpah, this, that. I don't care, but it just shows you the underlying rot gut that is a part of Klal Yisrael in the Orthodox community. There is a civil war. A car stops in Borough Park, and it's Erev Yontif. And the guy in the middle on 14th Avenue outside the Tosha Beis Medrash, I think, he snaps a picture of me with his phone. He's going to put it up on a WhatsApp. And he tells me, he's blocking traffic. He tells me, but you shouldn't be so hard on Flatbush Mama, this and that. They're missing the point. You can't be judgmental. You can't be mean. You can't. What do you mean you can't? That's Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit is standing up for God. Mila Hashem Eloi, Moshe said. He said, go out there, take swords and kill your brothers, your fathers, your own mishpacha. No. We're not talking about killing anybody. But at least to say it like it is, Rabbi Sai, this is the problem. This is the problem. There's a problem that there's a civil war of values going on. And it's not getting any better. It's getting more pronounced. It's getting worse. And what Rabbi Sai, let's see here. I would like to as promised, I want to give the hotline number again, third time, because the hotline is very, very important. There are many people, particularly in Lakewood, who won't see a video on the internet. They can't hear the radio because it doesn't extend. They would gain from this program, they'd be interested. So it's up to people who know about it to give them the hotline number, 641-715-3900, 641-715-3900, extension 247656, 247656. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the world. The American Academy of Pediatrics, a group of left-wing mushchosim, the American Psychiatric Association in 1973, for generations it was held that acting out on Mishkav Zohar is considered a mental illness, is considered something negative, but through vicious pressure and scare tactics and bullying, the Mishkav Zohar activists forced the American Psychiatric Association to change their definition. You see, all these Orwellian things are very important. P.S. That's why it's such a terrible tragedy that just happened in the news today. The Supreme Court of India thwarted the will of the Indian government and took adultery off the books. That adultery is no longer a criminal offense. Until today in India, if a husband caught the wife with infidelity, he could charge her criminally. Now the Supreme Court of India ruled against the government and said, no, it's a civil matter. It's a simple civil matter, and the man and the woman are absolutely equal, and there's no more of this kind of stuff of criminal charges. So what are they doing? They're making it easier and more attractive for people to shack up, for people to betray their marriage vows, and to do adultery. This is exactly why Deborah Glick, the lesbian assemblywoman from Greenwich Village, has been introducing this bill for tens of years now to take adultery off books in New York State. She says it's not being enforced, so it's a joke. Honestly, we can point to something called fidelity and loyalty, and we can say, see, the law, there's a shirish in the law. But if you take it away, it increases the znus and the promiscuity, and now that's how India is going. Let's get back to the Rishoyim, the American Pediatric, or the American Association of Pediatricians or Pediatrics. They call on parents when you have prepubescent children who feel that they're trapped in the wrong body and they want to change their gender through operations, through hormone treatments and eventual surgery. You stupid, backwards Neanderthal parents, you shouldn't stand in their way. The American Association of Pediatrics or Pediatricians encourages the parents should let the insane rule the asylum. And if a child, 7, 10, 12 years old, says, I'm a boy, but I feel like a girl, and I want to be like a girl, and you should give them hormone treatments, and you should give them surgery. You understand the corruption that's going on here on both sides. What does this have to do with us? It has everything to do with us. That's what Zephaniah 6 says. By the way, in this week's Jewish press, Yonason Teleski, I think his name is, I might not be pronouncing it correct, has an important article where he gives an outlook, hashkafic outlook, and he shows sources, biblical or whatever, different Torah sources, that it is desire of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we should be active politically in a conservative way when it comes to social and moral issues. So I commend that article to each and every one of you. I don't have it in front of me now. Maybe next week I will refer to it. Now, I want to move on to something else. In the world of the WhatsApp, which I became involved in around 6 or 7 weeks ago, I'm now pulled out. So a bunch of Menavolim were attacking me viciously in very horrific ways. I'm not going to repeat what they said. And basically, it's water off a duck's back. And I was even clearing if I get any schar from the Bizyonis, because maybe you only get schar from the Bizyonis if you feel the Bizyonis. If they say on you, you're a Mishkav, Levin's a Mishkav Zocha, Levin's an Eshes Ish, Levin's a Oisvov, Levin's a pornographer, and all kinds of stuff like this. And they go into saying these things. A few of these evil people went ahead and they created a WhatsApp site called Pakistani Porn. And they have kunsen that they took my cell phone number and they put it on as an administrator, Ki'ilu, as I put together this program of Pakistani pornographers. You understand? Now, I have a screenshot of one of these Menavolim that he contacted by WhatsApp a Pakistani medical student, and he told him that there's somebody called Jennifer Yehuda Levin, that Jennifer Yehuda Levin is interested in having a pornographic relationship. So I have a whole list of Pakistanis who are contacting me on WhatsApp because they think they're contacting some kind of a beautiful girl. This is the mushchasim that they are. This is their idea of pleasure. And they put my phone number on this Pakistani porn site as if I'm busy with pornography. So if I cared about this, then maybe it would be menaka avoinus. But if it's water for duck's back, I laugh at them. I think they're ridiculous. Maybe it doesn't even help me menaka any chatoyim. So somebody told me a svara from the famous introduction of the Avnei Nezer. The Avnei Nezer, in the introduction to a sefer, he speaks about the fact that it's very, very geschmack to sit and learn. For people who are Chacham, they enjoy the intellectual, the challenge, the geschmack of learning, of being mechadish. So you have mitzvah lav lahenes nittu, it says. And here you're having such hanor from the mitzvahs. Maybe there's something wrong with that. You're having such hanor from the mitzvah. And all contrary, the Avnei Nezer basically said, no, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what Hashem wants. So this Rav told me, this doesn't only apply in terms of Torah. In other words, if you have a good b'tachon Hashem, so you understand that that's what shmutziak, low life, menuvel heads, diarrhea mouths, that they're attacking you. You take it with the same grain of salt, it doesn't mean anything to you. So it's not supposed to, if you're a big ball and it's not supposed to bother you. It's not supposed to put you into a tailspin or anything like that. You still get schar, he says. But one of these diarrhea mouths, right before mamish, I'm a nuldik mouth and I'm a nuldik head. So right before Yom Tov, he sends out before Yom Kippur, I want to ask him by Mechila, I'm really a nice guy, etc., etc. But then what's Yom Kippur? He starts again with the Navola. You think a person like that, you have to be moichel? I don't think so. Mechila has to be a serious thing when a person has to mean it when they ask Mechila. They have to mean it, they have to try, they have to make an effort. Let's move on. There was a bill voted in the New York Council that passed by a tremendous majority. The bill, we discussed it a few days ago. It's a binary ID gender bill. In other words, the parents could think that their child that was just born, a baby, an infant, a few days, but you don't want, if it was born biologically a male or biologically a female, you don't want to put that onto the birth certificate because you think that maybe they're going to want to change it in a few years. They're going to want to change their body parts, take hormones and cut off body parts and reshape body parts. So therefore, these Rishayim, by an overwhelming vote in the city council, 40-something to around against 4, they voted in favor of this binary gender bill. So who did this? Karen Koslowitz from Forest Hills voted for it. Brad Lander, who represents a part of Borough Park, and all the Chanfanim Chan for him, voted for it. Stephen Levin of Greensburg voted for it. Rory Landsman of Kew Gardner Hills of Kew Gardner Hills voted for it. Here's a shout out. Where's the Vada Rabbanim of Queens for Koslowitz? Where's the Rabbanim, the Vada Rabbanim of Queens for Rory Landsman? Where's Rabbi Schoenfeld, Rabbi Yoel Schoenfeld, Rabbi Peretz Steinberg, Rabbi Schwartz? I think he's the executive director of the Vada Rabbanim of Queens. You have some kind of a political committee there. Where are these people? What's going on? Why should these people, these city councilmen, act with impunity? Because they know that the Orthodox don't care. That's what Ronnie Bitzett, however I pronounce her name, the assemblywoman here in this part of Flatbush, she said it to somebody. She said, all that the Orthodox Jews are interested in is getting a bigger piece of the pie. In other words, geld. They're not interested in values. Jonathan Richard of Far Rockaway. Mark Traeger. Part of his thing is in Bensonhurst. Part of his district is in Flatbush and Seagate. Mark Traeger. Okay. Now, I've criticized the Flatbush Jewish Coalition, which is headed by Reb Josh Mailman, who I know for the better part of 40 years from the Mir Yeshiva, brother Morty Mailman, both very fine people. But that Flatbush Coalition, you know, they make political endorsements of all the lowlifes. So I was pleasantly surprised when Josh Velman sent me Chasima Tova greetings, and he says he appreciates what I'm doing for Klal Yisrael. He's a better man than I, because here I criticize his organization, and he goes and he appreciates. But this is the same thing Yerucham Silber does to me from Aguda. This is the same thing that Ezra Friedland does for me. This is the same thing that Simcha Felder does, because they realize never Chaimina with the Ernstkeit. And so they're mature enough, and Chaim Deutsch, the city councilman, they're mature enough not to take it personal. I still like them as human beings, and they do many good things. It's just that I have a job to be their conscience and hold their feet to the fire, and I'm not trying to win popularity contests. So here I have a suggestion to the Flatbush Jewish Coalition. And I want to say publicly, if the Flatbush Jewish Coalition or Agudas Yisrael or the OU or the Young Israel takes me up on this idea, I am mechayev myself b'li to give a kiddush in shul on Shabbos. Chachma b'goyim taimin. We have to believe that the Gentiles have chachma. They don't have Torah, but they have chachma. So let's learn from what the religious, devout Gentiles do. The same Gentiles whose adherents are spending millions of dollars a year to fight against Mishkav Zachar, to fight against the encroaching laws of the Mishkav Zachar, rather, to fight against the encroaching laws of abortion on demand, assisted suicide. They put their money where their religious values are. More than I can say for us. We don't. Oh, yes, the Orthodox Jews spend a lot of money. Like when David Lichtenstein and Aaron Kotler, Aaron Kotler, the CEO of Lakewood, when they decided to kiss up and come for Hillary Clinton, so they had Orthodox Jews in Lakewood spending around $200,000 to pose for pictures with Hillary Clinton when she came to David Lichtenstein's house. Yeah. Grace Kiddush Hashem. And you see, they Orthodox spend money. But do they spend money for politicians that fight for morality? Really? They do that? It could be coincidentally, once in a while, they might actually support the right kind of a candidate, and they'll give that candidate some money. But not that often. So here's the thing that we can learn from the Gentiles. The Gentiles have something called a biblical scorecard. Before the elections, they print up pamphlets called biblical scorecards, where they pick 5 or 10 issues that there's a biblical view, a biblical standard: abortion, mishkav zocha, pornography, adoption by shmusyaks, all kinds of things. And they tell you exactly, they ask the questions to the candidates, if the candidates answer, and they also examine their voting records, and they tell you what the candidates have done. This makes for educated voters. I have a challenge for our Agudas Yisrael. Instead of at this late stage of the devolving culture, wink, wink, blink, blink, telling us stupidity, like Cynthia Nixon's a terrible person. She's so ultra-liberal. And Andrew Cuomo, versteht sich, he's not so liberal. No. He just wants to have the most Kaisvin Kubel Zacha he made. He's not liberal. No, that was yesterday's news. As I told Noldy, don't bother telling us about that, please. Since then, he's posed for pictures with $50,000 checks that he gave to some yeshivas for security cameras. So we have to kiss up there and we have to genuflect. Yeah. And then the completion of the sentence was, and Cynthia Nixon's so liberal, and Andrew Cuomo's our good friend. Yeah, he's a good friend. He's only doing something that was maybe Mabel Olam. He's only trying to say now pass such an extreme radical pro-abortion bill that even if a baby survives a botched abortion, you can withhold medical treatment. And you know who is supporting that while we're on it? There's a resolution in the city council speaking to the state legislature that they should pass this Ritzicha bill. The Women's Committee in the city council had a resolution to urge that the state should pass the Reproductive Health Act. You understand it's called reproductive health. Reproductive health means you kill the little fetus. You kill the baby, the preborn baby, or even postborn if it managed to escape a botched abortion. Kill it! Take out killing a fetus, that in no circumstances should it be considered criminal anymore. Take it out of the criminal code. Maybe it'll be considered under an assault. If a guy goes over and he punches a woman in the stomach when she's pregnant, punches her repeatedly until she's mapo, until she miscarries. So it was until now that a lawyer could charge him with killing the fetus, something like that. I'm not to talk now. The fetus is no longer considered, anything to do with the fetus is no longer considered criminal. And they couldn't fine-tune the bill. They were too lazy. So just maybe, if you go now and you punch a lady in the stomach and you kill the baby, maybe it'll still be an assault. But it doesn't fall under like murder or serious criminal activity or something like that. They're trying to dehumanize the fetus at every stage, including if it was born to a botched abortion. Yeah. Now, do you think, I'm telling you in advance what's going on. This bill hasn't been voted on yet. So do you think Aguda is going to have us making phone calls, or the Flatbush Jewish Coalition or the OU is going to have us making phone calls to stop this kind of a ritzicha? Don't you understand, in spirituality and ruchnius, this ritzicha reflects on us, because Midashasak and those densely populated Orthodox Jewish area in the country, Midashasak, ID, it's like a confession. If there would be a biblical scorecard, a Torah biblical scorecard, and it would be published by Aguda, the OU, the Young Israel, the Flatbush Jewish Coalition, and all the Kvara Queens and everything, and this would go all across the country on the federal level, on the state level, and on the city level, it would make for an educated consumership, voting consumership. For the first time, people would take these votes, these pamphlets, like the Gentiles do, and they'll know who to vote for and who not to vote for. But no, that would work against the whole thing of gelt über God. The gelt is more important than God. The politicians would be furious. So, what do you think? It's now in the waning days before Hoshana Rabbah, and before we send out the Pitkin, the Malachim, the Shluchei Beis, send out the Psak Din of Shmini Atzeres. Do you think Hashem has nachas and would have nachas from a biblical scorecard and educating our Yidden on the moral issues? Yes or no? So if it's yes, and these Orthodox Haredi Jewish organizations don't want to do it, isn't that a no-no? Isn't that a transgression? Isn't that a sin? Is that going to serve them well in this world and the next? Remember, I spoke about this last week with the Al-Khaitz. You're not supposed to talk like this, Levin. They'll write you up in the Jewish press with letters, how you're judgmental and you're mean, and you're shaking the boat. And who are you to say such things? After all, majority rules. And if the majority wants marijuana to be legal, it's legal. If the marijuana wants that you should be able to abort your babies, it's okay. Forget it. What are you bringing God in the Torah to separation of church and state? So you say, Levin, you say that the people, the masses are jackasses, are chamorim, and they don't understand when they say separation of church and state. It doesn't exist according to the Torah, separation of church and state. Meaning, we don't want to run the United States like a Jewish theocracy, but we're entitled as much as when they say from their Hollywood lack of values, they say their standards, we're allowed to advocate for our standards that are moral and decency just because they derive from the Torah. They're worse than the bubblegum joke, comic book garbage, less than comic book garbage, immorality that drives their homosexual, their pro-abortion agenda. Let's not be ridiculous. Think, Rabbi Say. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah. By the way, there was something nice that happened. In the last primary, 4 out of 8 of the co-sponsors of assisted suicide bill in Albany, 3 of the 8 lost in the primaries. 3 of the 8 lost in the primaries. And these were members of that Democratic breakaway that was giving the Republicans the edge. Jeff Klein lost, and a guy named Hamilton lost. And we're b'simcha rabbah. Yerucham Silva has a problem now. Whoever it was who tweeted out, Jeff Klein, such a wonderful person. Jeff Klein was for this assisted suicide. Jeff Klein was for the baby killing abortion. Even if it survives a botched abortion, you can withhold medical treatment. Jeff Klein, the good friend of Aguda, of Yerucham Silva and whoever. You understand? So now there was a lady named Matilda Frontos who ran in a primary in the Seagate area of Brooklyn Assembly, and it was too close to call. So I don't know if they've called it yet. She's the first one in the history in that part of Brooklyn to openly be pro-gay and pro-hashkas and everything else. And if she could do that, have that audacity in that part of Brooklyn, that's a very, very bad siman for what's happening. And who's responsible for these things? We could be the tail that wags the dog. We could be machayev, the Catholic Church and the evangelicals, if we would act a certain way, but we're not doing it. And therefore it's hefka. And who are we hurting at the end? We're hurting ourselves. I want you to understand the new concept in the final moments here. Your vote is like anything else. Everything that we do is adjudicated in the Bezin Shamala. Is it a positive or is it a negative? When you vote for a lowlife, it's a negative. You're empowering that person. You're making that person a shliach tzibur, and you're going to give it a cheshbon. Because why didn't you research? If you're buying a house, you would research. You would do a title search. Why don't you do that before you go and use wood? But Aguda told me. And if Aguda told you to eat pork, Aguda just told the gedolim. So you put your brain in automatic pilot. So if you say, yes, I thought so, but now you know different. That's why Yehuda Levin is here, to get the brickbats and to have them write against him in the Jewish press, to make chayzik of him, and to make pornography sites and say it's his fault and everything else. I'm masking to everything Rabbi say. I'm masking, but I'm telling you. So after 120 years, I'm sorry to tell you, they're going to say, how come you were told? Why didn't you do your due diligence? My Rabbi say, this is Yehuda Levin. In our final moments, I want to wish you a good Fittel Gemar Toiv. And remember the hotline number that I gave you, 641-715-3900, extension 247656. And you're all invited to Yeshiva Spring Valley. The old Yeshiva Spring Valley was 306 in Maple. Corner, my son Simcha Ziesel's chasuna. The Simcha's chasana Makala starting at 10 o'clock. We'll try to save you a piece of kugel, some cake, some seltzer. Please come and enjoy. Have an uplifting and edifying Haishana Ravish from the Yetzer Simchas Torah. Onwards and upwards, Rabbi Sai. A guten Tamid.